Good evening, everybody. We're live in the pits of Motorcast with your host, Dave. And I've got on the phone with me Rocky Ausec, driver of the Alcohol Funny Car, and he's from the Great Lakes Nostalgia Postdoc. Great Lakes Nostalgia Funny Car. How are you, Rocky?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, no problem. So how's things going with the funny car circuit this year?
I've had some issues. I've had some breakage. Circuit's doing very well. I've set up my personal best a couple times, and last Saturday night at Route 66, I was on one of my best runs ever, and just before I shifted, the input shaft on a transmission snapped. I had mostly stuff that wasn't very expensive, thank goodness, but it cost me some races. But overall, it's been a great year. Anytime I get to drag race, it's fun. So we're done. We're done with our. We don't have any more races booked this year right now. I mean, we could pick up another one or two, but we're mostly going to do tests and tunes the rest of the year at Route 66 when they're open. Okay. And I've got several local car shows that we're going to go to. This Sunday we'll be at the Moran AC car show from noon to, I think, 4 p.m. September 3rd we'll be at St. Joe's Parks for the Crest Hill Lions Club picnic and car show. That's from, I believe, noon to 6 p.m. In downtown Joliet, they have the race fan rally Wednesday before the NASCAR race. That's September 6th. That's usually from 5 to 10 p.m. That's always a good time. September 10th, we're planning on going to Richland School for a Special Olympics event put on by the Crest Hill Police Department. September 16th, we'll be at the Crossroads Church on Black Road, just west of Midland. And then I just found out there's one going on September 24th at Joliet Airport. I'm not sure who's putting that on, but I think it'd be cool to be at the airport with the car.
Now, when you go to these car show events, do you start the car up?
Generally, we do. I did not start it the other day because the transmission was broke yesterday. And we were at a show back on Father's Day weekend. It was actually Father's Day for Wags to Wishes Pet Rescue. And I didn't think it would be good to start the car with all the dogs and such that were there, so we didn't do it there either. But generally we start up once, maybe twice.
Okay, so tell me this, Rocky. When did you get into drag racing?
I first went down a drag strip in 1969 in my street car, 55 Chevy. And I got my first race car in 1972, and I've been at it on and off since then. I haven't raced every year, but I take a couple years off here and there because just kind of wears you out a bit, and then the financial part of it as well. I've been running the car I've got now, the 1971 Mustang Mach 1. I call it Solid Rock. I've been running it since 2008. We've done okay with it. We haven't won as much as we'd like, but we've just as important to us as putting on a show for the people. I'm getting to be known for doing long, smoky burnouts, and we enjoy that. The reason I started that is the performance of the car wasn't all that good, so I figured if I got to grab some attention, the burnouts would be the way to do it. And it seems to have worked. There's several videos on YouTube. You can go to solidrockracing.com webpage, Rocky Ausec Facebook page, or Solid Rock Racing Facebook page. There's videos all over YouTube and on Facebook if anybody cares to see it. And also, I put everything that we have coming up on my Facebook page, so people know about it, at least a few days in advance, whether we're going to go race here or there or do a car show or whatever. And we enjoy the shows, too. It's not quite as much as the racing, but it's generally laid back, and we just kick back and shoot the breeze. If there, especially if there's some other racers there, we do a lot of bench racing. And it's just fun. I mean, it's something I've been doing all my life, and and I'm 71 years old, and I'll keep going until I can't go no more. So.
Now you mentioned long smoky burnouts. That's what the people want to see these days. They want to see the long smoky burnouts. They want to see dry hopping.
Yes, actually, exactly. Because well, I did a pretty decent burnout the other night, and I think I did a dry hop or two. And like I say, I was on a really good run too. The car was going straight. The front end was in the air. The front wheel was probably about a foot off the ground. I was just getting ready to shift it. It just quit. So. And I had no low gear or high gear, so I just got it off the track. Done it. We took it apart this morning and took it down to the transmission shop, and hopefully he can get the parts and stuff, and I can have it within a week or so. I'd love to have it back by Friday, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. Just with getting the parts ordered and getting them delivered and all that stuff. Plus, the man has there's his other things scheduled. I took it down to Begler Brothers in Wilmington. They've been doing the transmissions for quite a while.
Now, Rocky, my wife wants to ask you something. Hold on.
Sure.
Wait, you're 71 years old? I thought you were 39.
I'm sorry I couldn't make that out.
I said you're 71? I thought you were 39.
I was about 36 years ago.
No.
No, I'm 71.
You sound and look 39.
Well, thanks, but we try. We keep going. Our crew is referred to as three old guys and a chick. I'm 71. My crew chief Terry Stapleton is 68, and crewman Mr. Bear Tom Wills is 64, and then we have Leslie Kranz, who is I believe 41 or 42.
Nice.
She brings one heck of an energy to the team too.
Nice.
So how did you come up with the name Solid Rock?
People ask me that once in a while. I worked at in the mobile oil refinery here when I first started racing. And one night I just got my car together. So it was a 62 Nova. A big block Chevy injected clutch like transmission and such, and I was trying to get a name. It was about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and was me and two of the co-workers, Dean Townsend and Mike Fleming, were going through the refinery and checking pumps and stuff. You take a patrol every so often, make sure everything was doing good. And we had a radio with us, but we were supposed to, but we didn't. We had WLS on. I don't remember the disc jockey, but he came up and said, now we're going to have 30 minutes of continuous solid rock. No commercial interruptions or anything. And those guys said, that's it. That's the name, Solid Rock. Been using it ever since. Other people think it has some more biblical, connotations, but that's the way it happened. That's the way it came about. And picking a name for a car, finding a name is probably one of the toughest things about owning a car. Something that you can stick with and people remember and things like that. But we've had it all these years. I had the 62 Nova, and I ran that 72 and 73. I took 74 off, but at the end of 73, I started building a 72 Camaro, and I got that on the track in 1975. And I drove it 75, 76, and 77. Then I sold it, and I bought a Pinto funny car, my first funny car. Bought off some friends of mine, Bernie Pappish, his crew, they call it the Rough Rider. But I bought that, and I didn't run the funny car class with it because they changed a bunch of the rules where I had to have a lot of money to upgrade the safety items. So I ran bracket racing with it. Mostly at Byron Dragway over near Rockford, Byron, Illinois. And I ran that car until 1982. I ran that in Supercon, different classes, brackets. And then I parked it for a couple of years. I kicked the rod out and I just said, heck with it. And then I read an article where a guy was starting up the Midwest injected funny car circuit. I'd always run injectors on my cars, all of them. And they were having their first meeting right here in Joliet at the Holiday Inn. I thought, well, I want to go to that. And then found out how the circuit was going to work, and got a motor together and went out and ran. I ran in that car from, our first season was 86, ran 86, 87, and in 88 I bought a car, well, the car I have now, but I changed the body on it. Because back then you wanted the newer stuff, not the older stuff. I put a 78 Corvette body on it, and I ran that for, I think, 8 or 9 years, and I dinged up the corner of it, and I had it sitting on sawhorses in my driveway doing some fiberglass repair work on it, and the wind picked it up in the middle of the night and slammed it on its roof, so that was the end of that. And I took about 11 years off, remodeled my house, and did various things. And finally, in early, 2004, I went to an event in St. Louis, Gateway, Funny Car Nationals, they called it. It was the nostalgia funny cars, the older ones, 79 or 80 and older. I forget what exactly the years were. So I went down there for that for 3 days, and then that reminded me of the old days at US 30 and the big funny car shows and Coca-Cola Cavalcade. There were cars there from California and all over the country. And I don't know, I just had a great time there. I had already started putting the car together. Money was, taking us time to get the money up and stuff, because I wound up having put a whole rear end and floater assembly in it and stuff. But that's when I decided I was definitely going to get it together, and I didn't get her on the track until 2008. My first race was at St. Louis with the Great Lakes Nostalgia Funny Car Circuit. It was actually the first official race of that group. Some of the guys, Denny Swimmer, Bill Hallett, Klingerman brothers, the Horvath family, they were going all over, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, running their cars before that. But that was the first official race, and we got down there. The car had about, 7 or 8 different colors on it at the time, because I'd been sanding on it, and there was different paint jobs. So on a Friday night, about 9 o'clock, I got out some spray cans, and I made it all gray primer. Loaded it up and went to St. Louis, and got up there to make our first run, and I thought, I'm going to do a good burnout, back up, and go for it. Take it easy a little bit, but go for it. And I did that. I hit it about half throttle, leaving the line. The front end came up, and it went on down. I got about half track, and I put my foot all the way to the floor, and the whole car started lifting. I mean, it was becoming airborne, and it's like, I didn't know exactly what was happening at the time. Finally, I just gave up on it. The second run that day got rained out, and then the next day we went there. We had one run to do on a Sunday, and I just mashed it right off the line. All 4 wheels come up off the ground and started bouncing like crazy, and you're in the car and you're trying to get your foot off the throttle, but when it slams down or bounces hard, it jerks your foot here and there. So it was quite a ride. We went out. I don't remember where we went after that, but we ran the car that year with not so good of luck. I know we were up in Martin, Michigan at the end of the year, but too much air got under the car and lifted the body. And people are telling me it's this and that, but I had the same chassis with a Corvette body and a Bantam Roadster body on it, and it went right down Broadway. So I knew it was the aerodynamics of the body, and I talked to Frank Oglesby, who was one of the top racers back in the 60s and 70s, and he had a body like this, and he told me what to do. He said keep the air from getting under it and control the air that goes over it, make a way for the air to get out from under it. So I did all that, and then over the winter I modified the body. The body itself, I mean, I cut it down the side and lowered the rocker panel, and I changed the front spoiler and stuff. And the first run like that was at Columbus National Trail Raceway, actually in Hebron, Ohio. And I'm all worried about, when I get in high gear, what's going to happen. So I make a run. It was an okay run. It wasn't anything great. I got it in high gear, and I'm kind of holding my breath, and I'm thinking, okay, we got this. The car just went down there the way it should. So I got to the end, I hit this parachute and pulled my foot off the throttle, and the throttle kept hung open. So it was no big deal to me, but people in the stands were kind of excited. I keep the magneto switch, the kill switch, right where my thumb. I don't have to take my hand off the wheel or anything, just my thumb. So I killed it, and came back, and everybody's down there, what about this? I said, I don't care about that. The car don't fly. that's kind of hairy, when you go airborne at 140, 150 miles an hour. And we ran the car in the primer for, 2008 and part of 2009, and we got it painted. Dave Kovar, Fonzie, Billy Cavada, and his wife Karen actually did the paint on it. They did a fantastic job because the car was really, really rough. There's evidence under there that the front end of the car, this is the third front end on that body. Also, the car was cut in half across to shorten it at one point in time. I was told that by one of the original owners. They were having trouble with it handling too, and they were trying to make it where it stay in the ground and stuff. But 71, they didn't have the knowledge about the aerodynamics and whatnot that we do now. So, I benefited greatly from that. And we've been running the car ever since. We've, make changes along the way, change the heads the other while and blower, this and that. We pretty much got a good combination now. About 2 weeks ago, I think it was, or 2.5 weeks ago, we were at about 66 and doing a test and tune, and we ran a 715 at 190, which is our best ever. The first time I hit the teens and the first time I hit 190. I've done a few 188s before that. But last year in 2016, we went to Quaker City Motorsports Park over near Salem, Ohio, for our big event now, our Funny Car Nationals that Denny, the guy that runs our group, puts on. And I blew the motor up after 8 years. Picked the rod out and whatever, but came home, I put everything I could think of to sell, scraped up every dime I could and got the motor together. And I figured it out. It was 83 days later, we went out here to Route 66 for the Classic. The very first run on the car, I beat my personal best by about a half a tenth, by about 6 or 7 hundredths, which I was thrilled with, and then I wound up winning our class at that event. So all the work was worth it, and this motor is definitely putting out more power than the old one. So we're very happy with it, and we're planning on getting out hopefully this Friday. If not, it'll be the following, whatever they open up for test and tune here around 66 again. I know they got NASCAR coming in, and they don't have the test and tune things at that time period. Denny Saltzweimer, he's the guy behind our group, the Great Lakes Nostalgia Funny Car Circuit. We call him the Grand Poobah, and he takes care of it, getting us races and making sure we have the contracts and all that stuff, which really is very difficult. I did that with the Midwest Funny Car Association for 7 years, and I just won't do it again. But he's really good at it. In fact, he's putting on another race. It's not strictly our group, but a lot of our races will be there. He's putting on a race in Edco, New Jersey this weekend. So I'm sure that'll go over pretty good. But he's a really good promoter, great guy. Takes care of us. He, does everything he can to promote the group. We'll go to. He lives in Akron, Ohio, so he'll go to like Cleveland car shows and stuff over that way. I know he's been up to Buffalo, promoting our circuit at these places. He goes to the PRI PRI show, performance racing industry, and it's a big thing in this part of the country. In December, I usually get on and join up with them, and it's really cool to go through there and see all the new developments, talk to track operators and manufacturers, and just run into people you don't see very often. But the group is a good group of guys. We get along pretty good, and we got to give each other some raspberries, especially me and Mark Horvath, driver of the damn Yankee car. And then there's Chris Snyder with the Mopar Crazy, John Troxell's car. Chris is the driver, and he's an awesome driver. He can cut reaction times like I don't know what. In fact, it was the three of us. It was the first time the three of us were together. Was at Route 66 Saturday. Bill Anderson was also there with the Roadshow car. He won the event, but it's just a fun thing to do. I mean, it's just you know your competitors, and you know all about them pretty much, and how they run their car, and things like that. So it makes it fun, just enjoyable thing to do. I mean, I love it. I think my crew does too. But these long rides kind of knock us old timers down a little bit, but we get through it.
Now, when you're off the starting line, like in the pits, you and the other drivers are probably all like family. Then when you're on the starting line, it's a different story, right?
Oh, exactly. I mean, we're good friends. You get in a car and suit up, and them cars start. Forget it. It's everybody for themselves, and that's the way it should be. We're all competitive. We all want to win each round. We do our best. So if you do win the round, generally you've really earned it. I mean, yeah, there's sometimes some you'll red light or something you do like I did in St. Louis, leave before the tree was even activated. I don't know what happened to my brain on that one, but we all kind of do it. I mean, it's a precision thing. People don't understand that. You have to do everything right to get a really good run and to have a chance to win, to do your best. I mean, there's, I don't know how many pieces on one of these cars, 1,000, 2,000. Every nut, bolt, screw, spring, any one of them can mess up a run, cause the car not to perform properly. And then you get in there and you got things like the track. One lane can be a little better than the other for traction. The weather changes and all the time, and that can affect the performance of the car. A big thing a lot of guys, young guys don't realize is a track like Route 66 here in Joliet, which is one of the top facilities in the world. You've got the stands down both sides of you. You could take off in the starting line, be on a real nice run right in the center of the lane. You get past the stands and that crosswind catches you, and it can move you over 6 or 8 feet. And I've had it happen to me. It's one thing I try to warn new drivers, about that. Some of them have argued with me and said, can't do that. And then they go down there and, all of a sudden, instead of the middle of the lane, they're over on the side. But as far as the competition, yeah, we get there and get down to the end. And if you lose, just say, I can take off this doggone hot suit and go relax a bit. Because it can get, on a hot day, I mean, wearing that suit, the 5-layer suit and the helmet and the hood sock and all that, it probably get up around 110, 115 degrees in there, if you're waiting in the car a long time on a hot day. And that's not comfortable. For me, anyway, once the motor starts, that all goes away. I concentrate on what I got to do, getting it in the water right, spinning the tires to start to burn out, get on the burnout, and make sure you don't let it get down where the tires will hook or it's going to hurt the transmission. And you got to get out of it, the throttle a little bit before they grip. Backing up is something else, to keep it in the center of the groove going backwards. You can't see anything, so you got to look ahead of you. We have the backup people come out. I've had some of them run down there and try to catch me, and I tell them, I'll get back there. You walk out about 200 feet, 300 feet, that's enough. Then Terry's behind me, lining me up. And we give it our best, no matter who's in the other lane. I try not to pay attention to that. And just concentrate on what I want to do, what I need to do.
Right. Now you're talking about how warm the fire suit is. Where do you get your fire suit made at?
Mine's a Deist suit. It came from Deist Manufacturing Company in California. There's several different brands. There's Dennis Taylor, there's Simpson, there's Impact. There's D&J Safety out of California. That's where I get most of my stuff now. Stroud, G-Force, I don't know how many different companies there are out there, and they all have to meet certain specs for the NHRA to approve them, National Hot Rod Association. They've got ratings on them, like ours is called a -20. I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think the -20 means that the suit will withstand some intense heat for 20 seconds. And normally a fire, hopefully it won't last that long, if the fires flash up and go away. But NHRA NHRA sets the rules on them, and the SEMA and SFI corporation, they kind of oversee all that stuff, and they have stuff tested, and the engineers and the professionals will figure it all out. But I feel safe in the car. I mean, if it was a nitro car, maybe not. I would be apprehensive. But alcohol cars, they do catch on fire once in a while, but it's very, very rare.
Now you do all your own mechanical work on the car?
I do the motors. I have machine work done. I've been going down to THP, Troy's House of Power in Ritchie, Illinois, the last, 10, 12 years, whatever it's been, to get my machine work done, but I assemble them. Beglers does the transmissions for me. I probably should learn how to do that, but they're close by and they do great work. And I put the car together. I mean, I've mounted the body on a chassis. I changed the rear end, changed some tubings in it to get it up to the newer specs. Because, like, when my car was built, there were no real specs for it. Every builder kind of built what he wanted. But then they got the SEMA and the SFI group got together, and they developed a set of specs that you can buy a copy of them for, I think, $30. It's got all the tubes in there, mainly around the driver. They're not that fussy with the stuff up front or weedy wire stuff for that, but it's the roll cage area and where the driver sits is what they're up on. And you have to have it checked by the NHRA inspectors. With our car being a sportsman class or category, it's every 3 years. They check some of the tubes on where they're at and the angles. They check the diameter of the tube, and they got this ultrasonic tool to check the thickness of the tube. And they give you the sticker. And if you got a nitro car, I think you have to do it every year. But for our cars, it's every 3 years. And and that's good. We kind of grumble and complain about having to spend some of the money, but when you see somebody bang one up and they walk away from it, it's like, yeah, it's worth it. And luckily, we got Route 66 here now. I used to have to go to Cordova or Union Grove or Byron or somewhere, and they'd have an inspector there. But Route 66 does it every year in March. You just make an appointment and go out there, and they're very efficient with it. Usually, it varies, but you can be in and out of there in 20, 30 minutes. And the guys out there are nice. Ted Peters has done mine a lot. Animal Jim Foyer, he's a legend in drag racing. He's from LaPan, Illinois. He had the Animal Jim cars. I started racing with him, and when I first started racing, he had started a little while before me, but we raced each other for several years, and he went on to pro stock and one of the original pro mod cars out there, and he was a showman. He would do the burnouts, and he'd wear like pink and orange and different colors. I mean, you saw him, you knew him, Well, I'm flowing hair. He's still got the long hair in the back and a little thin on top, but a great guy, very knowledgeable, and just a nice guy. Several of the other guys out there, Ron, forget Ron's last name, and they're really good, and they worry about your safety. They take care of you, and that's great. Some people, I've seen some of the stuff that some people slap together and want to go race it, and it's like, oh my God. I wouldn't sit in the car, but it's good we've got like tech inspectors and stuff to take care of all that.
Yeah, that's good. So Rocky, when you started drag racing, did you have any drivers that inspired you?
Any what? Any
drivers that inspired you?
Oh, all kinds of them. Locally, when I got out of the service in 1968, I got home in February of 68, and I tied up with some of the guys from the neighborhood I grew up with, and I worked with one of them, Bernie Papish. His brother Frank had a truck, and come about April of the year, Bernie said, let's go out to Oswego and watch my brother race his truck. I think, I don't want to see a pickup truck race. What the heck? He talked me into it. I went out there, and I looked at this truck, and the bed was shortened. It had a fiberglass nose on it. It was stripped of everything. There was holes in the frame but Swiss cheese to make it lighter. It had a 427 Chevy with Hillborn injectors running on 98% nitro, turbo 400 trans. It was a wild and crazy ride, and it did something different every time it went up there. If it actually made a nice straight run, that was a bit unusual. And Frank, he was fearless. He could drive the wheels off of that thing. And then he started. Him and Dale Feinhofer built funny cars. And Bernie Pappas, the brother I was closer to, he built the Pinto funny car that I later bought. They inspired me. The Coonan and the Colbert brothers, they had a gas tractor for a while. Before that, I believe they had a Volkswagen with a supercharged small block in it with, what's the wheelbase on a Volkswagen, 80 inches or something? I don't know, but I wouldn't want to drive that thing with that short a wheelbase and all that power. But those guys all inspired me. A lot of local guys in the big time going to US 30 for the funny cars. I mean, I was interested in drag racing before I went into service in '66. I was going to put together a motor for my '55 Chevy to run it, but I'm off. I'm going in the garage to get my car to go get some parts, and my sister come running on. She said, "Before you go there, you better look at this." The mail came, and so that put everything off a couple of years. But no, and another ones that inspired me was Denny and Tommy and Gary Offerman from Crest Hill. Denny, awesome pro stock guy, local pro stock guy out of Oswego when they first made the class. He'd run there in US 30 most. I'm sure he ran other places, but great guy, nice guy. He's still around. I see him every once in a while. It's always great to talk to him. Sontag, Bill Sontag, a local speed shop owner. And Ted Borowski, who's passed on now, but he was a big inspiration to me. He's the machine work for my motors, and I kind of hung around his shop for several years. But yeah, those guys all inspired me quite a bit. And I was proud to know him. I mean, Dale Feinhofer, I remember going to his shop a couple months after I got back from the service with Frankie Pappas, and he lived down on the east side, I think on Mississippi Street, I forget where, but somewhere in that area, and he had it was like an old garage. It was like 6 or 8 bays wide with the doors that opened up, that folded out, not went up, but folded out like a regular door. And he had a nice clean shop and equipment, and they're set this funny car body and the chassis, and I'm just, he built it right there himself. Also, Dale, him and his son have been driving a Super Comp car, racing it at Route 66, and they just now got together a 79 Trans Am funny car to run with our group, and they've got a couple shakedown runs on it, but I think they're going to be a real threat. Knowing Dale, I mean, he's a craftsman, a perfectionist. His stuff has always been top notch, and I'm looking forward to running with those guys. The Coonan, the one guy I mentioned earlier, his grandson is racing a Roadster now, and they're talking about looking for a funny car to join our group this week. I think we've got the best group in the country. There are other groups, and I'm not saying they're not good, but I am a little bit prejudiced towards our group because I enjoy it. I have fun with them. We got great guys. I get to race guys from Canada, from New Jersey, California. Our Pittsburgh, in July 15th in Keystone Raceway Park near Pittsburgh, it's our big event, our Funny Car Nationals. A couple of cars came from California, James Mayer in the Junior Vibes Tempo, and then I can't remember, the guy's name was Bowen, and they had the Happy Hour Corvette, and they both ran great, and that's a long way to go for a race like that, 2/3 of the way across the country, but it's a privilege to run most of these guys. Sweetman Brothers from, I think, Delaware, Maryland, by the border there. I think one's on one side, one's on the other, but they got a car that their uncle and their dad ran with NHRE back in the 80s. I used to read about this car, and now I get the chance to go up there and have him spank me more than I care to think about. But I'll get him back. But he's a great guy, great team. Kristen Mazzarella and Krista Mazzarella, Chris has got the Total Insanity Monza, who runs with our group, and his wife, Krista, has a temporary insanity car. Right now it's fuel injected, but they're putting a blower on it for next year that she'll be running with us. Their cars are always spotless and always run great. Great people. Johnny Kwasniewski from Buffalo, New York, with his Polkel team. It's a red and white 79 Corvette, I believe it is. And with a small block, and they're running 17s. I mean, you know, they're running incredible numbers for the equipment they have. And they're great people. I mean, you see these guys at the track, most of them, whenever you see them, you just feel like smiling, you know? They bring that out on you. And the Horvath family, I can't say enough about them. I mean, they're from Niles, Michigan, and South Bend, Indiana. Chuck and Kay are the mom and dad, and their sons, Mark and Brad. Mark drives the car, and he's an awesome driver. I've seen him get down a skating rink of a track and run good numbers. I've seen him do that more than once. And his brother Brad, I mean, to read a track and to tune a motor, they're awesome. And their kids are involved and wives and whatnot. You know, I guess they're one of my favorite competitors because we have run a lot because of some two-car deals where people want to see the Vega versus the Mustang. So, you know, we've been up to Canada, down to Bristol, Tennessee, and all points in between, down to Central Illinois one time. But I think we try to put on a good show. I think we do all right. People seem to like it wherever we go, to be honest with you. I never heard anybody complain to my face anyway.
No. Now, for you, besides Route 66 and Joliet, what are some of your other favorite tracks to run on?
Favorite tracks?
Yeah.
Route 66, obviously for me, Bristol. I got to go to Bristol a few years ago for the first time, and I got down there, I had motor trouble. It just broke my heart because, I mean, this is hallowed ground to me. Yeah, I know the track was rebuilt 10 years ago or whatever from what it originally was, but it's the beauty of the place with the mountains. It's nestled right in the mountains. That's a favorite. Martin, Michigan is another great one. It's only about 3 hours away, up near just north of Kalamazoo. I think, to me, that's probably the most spectator-friendly track out there, the way it's laid out. You know, you park on one side, you can walk in, and on both sides they got nice, fairly new aluminum stands with the restrooms and the concessions and all that. It's well maintained and it's well run. In fact, they're having a big deal there September 9th, I think, or 8th or 9th. They're Funny Car Nationals. Unfortunately, we were booked into it, but if anybody likes funny cars and stuff, that's the place to go. John Lawson will be there with his cars, and Tom Moultrie with his awesome Jurassic Plastic out of Lockport will be there. He's actually the quickest fuel altered in the world. I think a 528. He'll run like 270 miles an hour, 278, I think, somewhere in there. And they put on an awesome show. Header flames going up 6-7 feet on each side of the car. Great burnouts. Then there'll be a lot of other cars from around the country there. I'm not 100% sure who all is there. But the sport's alive and well. I mean, yeah, and I think this kind of stuff, the nostalgia, a lot of people don't like that word, or classic, whatever, is growing leaps and bounds. People like it because it reminds them of the U.S. 30 days, you know, back with the Coca-Cola Cavalcade, a Stars Funny Car group. The guys that were in that are pretty much the legends of today. Are, you know, now people just, you know, when you think about what they did and the parts they had and stuff, I mean, it's just phenomenal. And the work that goes into these cars, especially the nitro cars, is just unbelievable. And I'm not up for that. I like our car. It's really low maintenance. We make a run, we come back, we put fuel in it, we got an oil filter we take apart and look at, pull the spark plugs out, check the valve lash, and pack the parachutes, and that's it. And we can do it fairly quick. I know one time we were at Martin, it was just me and one of my crew guys, Jim Polkey. He's like getting a little rattled. And I said, calm down, we got it. You know, we came back from a run. 20 minutes later, we had it ready to go, except for packing the chute. So 25 minutes, you know, the two of us did it. I mean, we take about that now with 3 or 4, but, you know, there's no rush, so we just kind of go a little slower. And us 3 old guys, we need our breaks here and there. But if the car needs to work, we do it. I mean, in Pittsburgh, we got there early in the morning. We weren't scheduled to run at 7 o'clock at night. And we started up to warm it up early because I wanted to check something, the valve lash or something. I forget what it was. So we started up, I don't know, 11, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and I had an intake gasket leaking. It's like, oh, boy. So we ripped it apart, put it back together. It took us about an hour, maybe a little longer. I had to go to a meeting, driver's meeting or something. But, you know, we got it together and got it running, and then we went out and set a personal best with it. A 7:21 at that time was we set. And went up and made the run, and one of the parachutes didn't open, so I was on the brakes real hard and bouncing it. And we came back, and Leslie, I think it was in the back doing a parachute, said, hey, come here. I looked, and both of the wheelie bar wheels had the tire part just gone off of them. It was just down to the wheels, so we dug around and found a guy had a pair, let us borrow, and we made our next run. But, you know, there can be the work to it between rounds. But we're pretty much up to the task. If it can be fixed, we'll fix it. If we have the parts, too. That's, you know, another thing.
Now, do you have any sponsors for your car?
Yes, I do. I've got Heartbreak Towing out of Bolingbrook and Romeoville, Illinois. Shep's Tavern here in Rockdale, Illinois. It's where friendly people meet. It's a nice little corner bar with great food, great burgers, great chili. Richard Rumsey, an attorney out of Chicago. He's a personal injury guy. He's one of the top, from what I understand. Fortunately, I haven't needed, you know, any of his services. Classic Carts out of Wooster, Ohio. Daryl Arnold and Heidi Arnold. They build. He works on golf carts. He builds miniature Peterbilt golf carts. He puts a body on, looks like the semi, and makes a golf cart out of them. It's mostly all hand fabbed and stuff, and beautiful work. Then our circuit has Good Vibrations Motorsports out of California. Jim Mayer and his family and the friends, they run the group. I buy a lot of parts from them. There's Old World Industries, which is peak antifreeze, Blue Def, it's a fuel additive for trucks, and Herculiner, liners for pickup truck beds. They've been supporting our circuit for quite a while. And it's pretty much our most of our sponsors. I get a little help here and there. Pro Signs out of Coal City, Illinois, did the lettering on the car. Fonzie did the airbrushing of the grill and the taillights and the rear window. And you get a little help here and there from a lot of different people, and it just adds up. It really helps. Low Coat did some powder coating for me. They're out of Oak Lawn. They do powder coat about anything. It took me a long time to get around to getting them to do it. To get the money up to go there, and it made a major difference in the looks of the car. Having the headers powder coated and the steering and different pieces and parts. But that's about it. I think. I hope I didn't forget anyone. Oh, S&W race car parts out of New Jersey. I knew I was forgetting somebody, but they build chassis. You can buy the full chassis. You can buy kits. In fact, I'm going to be getting a roll bar kit from them because I want to raise the roll bar up another inch or so it's a little easier for me to get in and out of. They sell most of anything else too. I mean, other stuff, shifters and actually funny car bodies you can get through them. They got a catalog of about 100 pages, but they're one of the top in the country as far as sportsman's chassis, whether it's dragsters, funny cars, alternates, they can build them all.
Now, with the solid rock funny car, have you had any accidents or near accidents at all?
Yeah, I came close. I believe it or not, I think it was 2 years ago out here at Route 66, I knocked my first timing cone out after 40-some years. And a couple times I had a problem with tires at one point in time. The rear slicks were getting bad, and I didn't realize what happened. I'd be going down track, and all of a sudden want to turn right. And I got close to the wall a few times on that. Then I know in Bristol, Tennessee, we were down there, and I was running Mark Horvat. I was in the left lane, and I took off, and the car got a little squirrely. I had to backpedal it and get going again, and I got it going, and I got down track, and it got out of the groove, so I backed out of it and hit back into it, and the next thing I know, I was right next to the wall. In fact, I had to walk around the car when I got out to make sure I didn't graze it. I've done some pretty good wheel stands, and out here at 66 a few years ago at the Classic, I'm not sure quite what happened, but when I hit the gas pedal, the whole car came straight up off the ground, all four wheels. But that's those are probably the more exciting parts, but I haven't, I've managed to keep it off the walls and stuff, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's good.
I talked to the painters I think it was last year. He said, we bought a lot of extra paint for that car. And I said, yeah. And he said, we figured you'd have it in the wall by now. And I looked at him and I said, I figured I would too. But knock on wood, it's been good so far. And it's a fun car to drive now. It goes straighter. I had trouble with different things, gear ratio and this and that. Several different little things. But I think I've got them all figured out now because the car is running straighter than it ever has before. And it's just easier to drive. And I'm anxious to get trans back and get back at it. I want to get a couple more runs in. We're trying some different things when we put it back together that we've been wanting to try, but I don't like to try things during the racing season. I know the car will run this. I want to wait till I get a test session or something. I'll change. But we got a new sifter and a different torque converter we're going to try. And hopefully that'll make it even a little quicker. I'd like to get it where it's a consistent 705 to 710 car. If I can do that, I'll be thrilled. I think it's possible. I think it's doable. Terry and I seem to have been, Terry Staples and my crew chief and I, we seem to have been able to make some right calls on it lately, and it's working out and doing what we wanted to do. Staying together, that's a big thing as well.
Now, Rocky, do you have any hobbies besides drag racing?
I enjoy woodworking, but I don't do much of it right now because the wood dust and the car just don't go together. When I wasn't racing, when I took time off of racing, I built quite a bit. I built some cabinets and some furniture and stuff like that. I mean, I really enjoy it, but if I had a bigger shop or a separate shop, I would probably get into that more. But that's about the only thing, hobby that I have besides the drag racing. I enjoy going out and listening. Nowadays, there's a big resurgence in bands in the area, and I love going out and listening to a lot of the 60s and 70s bands, the oldies and stuff. That's about it, I guess, for a hobby for me.
So what's your favorite food, Rocky?
Food? Oh. My sister's going to laugh at this if she's listening, but I love pork chops and I love pizza. And a lot of other things, but those are probably my two favorites. I remember when I came home from the service, my mom had this spread out, and there was I don't know how many pork chops and a couple of pizzas, and I eat some, but I was so tired. I was up for like 80 hours, but that always sticks in my head because those are my two favorites at the time. And they still are. My wife is a great cook, thank goodness. She's made a terrific meatloaf tonight. And I know that sounds silly, but she's just a darn good cook, and I enjoy her cooking. That's why I can't seem to get away from this well-rounded figure. Part of the reason, I just eat too much of it, too. But But comfort foods and stuff I like. But pizza and pork chops, I think those are my two favorites.
What's your favorite beverage?
Used to be beer. I gave that up or got away from that. Now I drink a lot of water and Diet Dr. Pepper and some Diet Pepsi.
So now, does your wife, does she support you in the drag racing?
I burned her out several years ago, so she don't go with us too much, but she doesn't give me any, hard time about doing it. But in that way, yeah, she supports me. But she's taken up golf here. I don't know, about 5 or 6 years ago now, maybe a little longer. She used to be a big softball person, and then the aches and the pains got to be too much, so she took up the golf, and she's a very passionate golfer. And she's pretty good at it, I think. She says she's not, but I think she's doing okay at it.
So what was the experience like when you got behind the alcohol funny car for the first time?
That would have been the Pinto. It wasn't alcohol, it was injected gas at the time, and I had a B&J 3-speed transmission in it, which I knew now is all wrong ratios and stuff. And I was just anxious to get going. We took it up to Byron, and the car it just spittered and sputtered leaving the starting line because the motor in it was for a blower, and it had the camshaft for a blower, not injectors and stuff. But my combination was all wrong. But I just was so darned, going to do it. And I left the line, it spittered and sputtered, and I got it out. It cleaned out a little bit. I hit second gear, and I hit high gear. And I'm thinking, okay, and it started shaking on me real hard. And I was leaning my head against the bar behind my head, and that's a mistake. All the vibrations from the car came right through the helmet. And then all of a sudden, I see transmission fluid straight up out of the vent hole in this transmission, and it downshifted, and it shot this fluid up and hit the roof and spattered all over me in my brand new fire suit. But that was a little disappointing, but we went and kept working on it. We got it running pretty decent after a while, but that was my very first run. And all I knew then is I wanted more.
Now, Rocky, if you were able to do a time travel and go back in time, would you change anything?
What, for me?
Yeah. Like would you start racing earlier in life or something like that? Or?
Probably not. I wasn't ready. A lot of things came to me in my life that at points when I was ready for them. I didn't want to go in the service, obviously, but I did. I did my duty, and that put off my race car for a couple of years. But no, I wouldn't change much. We've all got a few regrets, but I don't dwell on them for darn sure. I'm a very lucky man, and I know it, and I appreciate what I have, both with my wife and stepdaughter, and now almost new son-in-law, step-son-in-law, whatever he would be. They just got married in June. But yeah, it's pretty good. I would have probably put more money away and stuff like that, but I'm doing okay. We got the roof over our heads, and we kind of do what we, do things that we want to do.
Okay. Now, since you've been with the Great Lakes Nostalgia Funny Car Circuit, what's been your fondest memory?
My fondest memory, winning Route 66 last year was one of them. Beating Horvath down in Bristol was one of them. Those guys, they whooped up on me quite a few times before I was able to get by them. But those are probably a couple of my best memories of the group and our racing. We have a lot of good times, trust me. I mean, we're always kidding around with each other and stuff like that. If you go on there, you'll hear me, Chris Snyder and Mark Horvath, we'll be going back and forth at each other here and there on Facebook once in a while. And it's all in good fun. Those guys are great, and I don't ever underestimate their abilities, too. They're good at what they do.
Now, when you on a drag race day, do you have any special eating habits, or you just eat regular?
We'll usually try to get a good breakfast, and then after that, who knows? some people come up and want you to get something for you before you go up to run, and I don't want to do that. I want to eat. I want it to be a couple hours before the run, because eating just makes me a little bit groggier, and I want a nap, In fact, Saturday, me and my crewman, Mr. Bear, went over here and got breakfast and then went to the track. And I think all day long I had a couple small bags of chips. We take chips and cookies and stuff with us. We don't really cook out there because we don't know the schedule and stuff. But I had a couple bags of those chips and some cookies until I got home that night at about 11 o'clock. And I didn't even realize that I was that hungry. I got home here and I grabbed a sandwich of some sort. I don't remember what it was, but yeah, I try to eat light on race day. And if after the races, sometimes we'll go and get something or get some pizzas or whatever. But during the time of the track and the race, I eat light.
Right. Well, so Rocky, I want to thank you for your time for the interview today.
Well, thank you for having me.
You have any final words for all the fans listening out there?
Keep your eye on the Great Lakes Nostalgia Funny Car Circuit. If they're coming to your area, I really recommend you go see them because they put on a good show. And of course, our sponsors, if you could, give them some of your business, would be terrific. And if you want to keep up with me and the Solid Rock Racing team, solidrockracing.com, Rocky Ausec on Facebook, and Solid Rock Racing on Facebook. My personal one, Rocky Ausec, is the one that has most of the stuff on it. But you can find background stuff on the others. But that's about it. And the GLNFCC, I can't forget them, doggone it. We've got our own website, and there's a lot of videos and stuff there from our races. The race in Pittsburgh on July 15th, we had 2 rounds of 28 funny cars went down the track in an hour, less than an hour on each round. No downtime, no breakage. So it's a good show. You don't have to spend a lot of time sitting there waiting for them to clean the track and stuff. But yeah, check us out. The circuit and me on YouTube and Facebook and stuff, if you would. And thanks for having me, Dave. I appreciate giving me the opportunity to talk to people.
Oh, you're welcome, Rocky. I try to do my best to support you drag racers.
Well, thank you. It's appreciated.
And you have a good night, Rocky.
You too. Thanks again.
No problem. Bye-bye.